give you a short introduction first. Now, road authorities, we have talked about it earlier, are aiming for using BIM and GIS more in their projects. So BIM for structures and GIS information for asset management. Now, both are well-established standards, and the problem is how to use them together. Now, in the VCOM project, we suggested an approach, and we also stimulate the software industry to realize this approach. So maybe you can learn something from it. Just, I'll start with the VCOM project itself, a bit about background, then I'll tell you about the approach we follow, technically and for the procurement. Now, the VCOM project is about roads. How can road authorities improve their processes in realizing roads? And the partners are Rijkswaterstaat, Trafiekverket, CSTB. Suhail, are you there? Suhail is there too. And TNO. It will take 4 years, we are halfway. So we have done 2 years working on the approach, and now we are starting with the PCP process, in which we procure and we interact with the software industry. Now, I don't have to repeat this, but there's a need for improved information management. However, no standards. And if I say no, I mean apparently not sufficient, but it's too long. So, no standards. There's no demand in the road authorities' contracts. There's no demand for software, no investment in software, there's no use at the road authorities, and no stimulus to standardize. This was at the beginning of the project, a spiral down. Now we try to change this. We aim to go up. So we standardize and we help define an approach to better use the standards, and we help the software industry to develop software. This was the starting picture about 2-3 years ago. It shows that all communication between the network managers, the asset managers, the realization office of Rijkswaterstaat, Trafiekverket, they exchange information on paper among each other, but also with the contractors. Now, the Nirvana picture, here it is. We want something in between, a road information, something. We didn't know what it was at that time. But something that combines BIM information, GIS information, systems engineering information. But we didn't know how it would look like. But this was our picture, and this is how we started. Now, how do you standardize information exchange and sharing of information? Now, we saw many relevant standards, BIM, GIS, systems engineering, all kind of national classification systems we wanted to use, but also some company-specific standards and libraries. Now, each with their own definitions, their own formats, their own semantics, and also each with their own user communities. You cannot ignore that. So our conclusion was the mother of all standards doesn't exist. And so the solution lies in a flexible, open, linked data approach. Also using some structured information, but open linked data. So how did we do that? Now, the first thing we did, of course, was scoping it down. And so after we got the grant from Europe, we scoped the project down a lot. We focus on project management at road authority. So the decision to renovate the bridge or to build a new road has already been taken. And we look at a solution that enables communication at the data hub of ANA between project management office, with the asset management office, and construction companies, most interesting, of course. Now, the challenge is that they all use different computer systems with their own languages, etc., etc., etc. So, in our vision, we say we must use the semantic web languages for the VCon solution itself, inside the VCon solution. Because that will really enable the open linked data approach. On the other hand, we should also allow for all standards that are established, that people can still keep on talking that languages. So we come up with a hybrid approach in this multi-standard world where we have ontologies in the middle, but we can communicate with all agreed standards. That's the basic idea. Now, how does it look like, the inside of this VCon solution? Now, we say we need some kind of common ontology, some common data structure, if you like, that combines, that acts as the link between the different worlds. Now, this common language, of this common ontology, contains all the objects and properties that you need to share. And what we also say, we want to have it in a layered structure. Because there are not only international standards, like IFC or GIS, but there are also national standards. Yesterday we heard about CBNL, or the Swedish classification systems. And there are also company-specific standards. And today they exist next to each other, but in this vision, in this view, we say they rely on each other, they build upon each other. And typically the lower levels specialize what is above. So internationally we say there are bridges, but for Holland we have these typical canal bridges. You only see them in Holland. So you define the typical canal bridges only on the national level. But bridges in general are on the international level. So this is the common ontology used to link different data sets. Because you need to have a lot of different data sets. So a bridge or a road, there are many uses of information on a bridge in this example, and they all have different perspectives. The asset manager, the contractor, the user. And you don't want to force everybody into one data model, but you want to tell when one object or one data set is telling something about the same real-life object as another data set. So this linking you want to enable. This linking of data sets. Now, in our VCon solution, we want to link data sets that complement each other, and sometimes you need to convert data sets if there is too many overlaps, or enrich data sets. But the main thing is linking complementary data sets. So, summarizing this approach, for these two road authorities, we made together the four of us, we made the following choices. First, we keep on using existing standards. GIS, BIM, systems engineering, for instance, also very important. And as much as possible, we use the complementary elements. So we make choices. So from one level of detail to a certain level of detail. We all use GIS, city GML layers. From another layer, from other level of detail, and below, we use IFC. And we make those choices. And of course, there is one or two levels of detail where there is an overlap. So there, you have to define what you do and how you convert data from left to right. Now, there you have the data transformations. But we try to minimize it. Second, we use an open link data approach to link all kinds of worlds. So the worlds are there, we honor them, they keep alive, and we make the links. So the first thing we have to do is to translate the languages of IFC, of CityGML, to ontology, the W3C world and languages. The first thing we have to do, and then on the data level we link. And we use linking, mainly linking, and some conversion of data. Now, third thing, we use the layered approach for common data, for the common data structure. Now, these are the choices we have made for our Beacon approach. Now, with this approach, we went to the software market. We did that in a so-called PCP process. PCP stands for pre-commercial procurement. And this enables us to realize this solution, our vision. Because it's not there yet, you cannot just buy it from the shelf. Now, in the first phase, the road authorities and the knowledge institutes define the requirements, develop the approach, and we defined technical requirements. We did something with standards, and the road authorities created the demand. This was an EU-sponsored part of the project. So we finished this, sort of, and the next part is the pre-commercial procurement. It's funded by the road authorities, also with some help of the European Union, and based on the business requirements and the technical requirements, the software companies will develop their vision on how this solution can be solved. So, and we do that in 3 stages. And we have a lot of interaction with many vendors. We don't select one, and we select a group of vendors to work separately on this solution. Now, the status of the PCP. Just this September we launched the call, and last week we received 16 bids. So we were very, very happy with that. Now, end of this year, we will select 6 vendors or consortia. And each of them, they will make their solution design. And they have about 3 months or something to develop that. So it's just paper, but they tell us how they want to solve this. And in May, out of these 6, we will select 4 to make a prototype. And then December next year, from these 4, we will select 2, in our view the best, to really make a system and to test it on cases of Rijkswaterstaat and Trafiekverkeer. And in this way, in the end of September, in 2 years, so it's a long time, but then the market will have two of the information hubs, the Nirvana tools, maybe, hopefully, Anna was talking about. And so these are our plans. So now you can follow our website to keep up to date. In autumn 2016, we will have an end conference where we present this all. And if you're a software supplier and you want to know what do clients, in this case, really want, you can also check it on our website, because all our specifications are public. So last slide. So what are the consequences of this approach for the harmonization of BIM and GIS? Now, first thing, keep up the good work. So keep on working on BIM, GIS, systems engineering, etc. Because linking them will only enforce them. It will not replace them, but will enforce them. The second is, for each of these initiatives, we suggest that you that you make sure you're able to communicate with semantic web, all the technologies of W3C. So not replace existing languages, but add these languages to it. Now try to keep the overlap, and this might be difficult, to keep the overlap with others as small as possible. So for the IFC, when you have the different levels, the IFC, don't try to also model the whole country. And for the GIS world, don't try to model all beams, etc. in the building. Keep to your own, keep to your own profession and what you're good at. Make sure that others can reuse your information, your data structures, etc., etc. For instance, using the semantic web languages, and try to use others also. So don't copy, but just reuse. Now, of course, support initiatives like InfraGML. We heard about it yesterday, but also the infra room of Thomas, because there we combine all these things. And another suggestion is also use this layered modeling technique. So don't try to standardize the whole world on the international level. The typical canal bridges are not interesting for people in Korea. And so they're only interesting for the people here in Holland. So keep what you model on the international level as small as possible, and allow for further specializations on the lower levels. So this will also means something for the standard itself, but also for the software that's supporting it. But I think it's feasible, and with the 16 bits we received, and we are evaluating them, I'm pretty confident what we get in the end to the two systems. And I don't know whether we are really in nirvana when we have those, but maybe a few steps further in that direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bart. I see some overlap with the keynote presentation of Anne Kemp. You were speaking about conserving data, reusing it, and yes, rechipping it. I like that, rechip data. And one question that pops up in my mind was, I'm into BIM, not into GIS that much, sorry, but you were talking about level of details, LOD, and GIS. I thought, really? Is that an issue in the GIS market as well? Is that so? Maybe someone from the audience can.
It might be that they use another word for it, but they mean the same thing. Yeah. Maybe they might use another word for it. Maybe aggravation or what's the other word? Aggregatie. Aggregation.
Aggregation level.
Might be the same thing. Yeah. Might be.
So the whole network, like the whole road network from the country network of all the highways. So don't try to model that in IFC. I say that's in GIS already. And now the whole network, but also some levels. And I don't know whether they exactly use the same terminology, but the idea is there.
That's very nice to see that there's overlaps everywhere.
Yeah, sure.
And when you said the mother of all standards does not exist, I Googled it. And well, there are lots of mothers of standards. So that's...
of all standards.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some are claiming that. Well, thank you again, Bart, and
You're welcome.